So let us go to log variable. Now to access log variable, just hover over this concurrency and click on log variable. So what is log variable? Basically, to avoid any clashes, to avoid or to provide a simplest synchronization mechanism, a concept of log variable is used where a variable is assigned to monitor the critical resources and it has two possible values, 0 or 1. 0 means the critical section is vacant while 1 means it is occupied. So here in this page you will find all the instructions that are necessary, all the info that are necessary to run a simulation. This section contains of a button info and it is self-explanatory. Tooltips is to make you understand that whenever you are confused and you don't know any topic, just you can hover over it and get the detail or the definition of the particular label there. Now, this is the instruction to operate, which as I'll show you as well. And this is the save PDF button that is used to save what actually happened in the whole process. Analysis of the log variable. Now, well, if you can see that a log variable mechanism is can be better, but it is really simple, and sometimes it does not guarantee the mutual exclusion as well, because you may preempt the process when it has seen the log variable as well, log variable. Okay, so let us go and execute. Okay, so as explained in the instruction section, these are the things that are pretty self-explanatory. So to run the simulation, let us click on process 0. As you can see, it went into the critical section and turned the log variable 1, showing that it is already occupied. Now, whenever you click on P1, it won't go in the critical section as well. And if you again click on P1 by mistake, it will show you a warning. So, okay, whenever then you click on P0, it will show that P0 is completed and P1 will automatically go in the critical section. Now, when you click on P1, it will show you that the P1 has been completed. Now, you can do this with n number of processes. Okay, so you can add more, or let us say add one more. So if you click on P2, it again went there. If you click on P3 and then you click on P4, and again let's click on P2, it got completed. P3 automatically went into the critical section. P3 completed. P4 automatically went into the critical section, and P4 completed. You can click here to save the PDF file that will show what the flow was. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Tanmay Thakur and I am going to explain test and set log. So test and set is a hardware solution to the synchronization problem. What happens is we have a shared log variable and a register which can either take two values, that is 0 or 1. So if a process wants to enter into the critical section, a process needs to inquire for the log. If the critical section is already locked, that means it is already occupied by some process, then the process needs to wait until it becomes free. Else if it is not locked, then it takes the lock and executes into the critical section. So here we have provided step-by-step visualization for a test and set lock. Now let us see the analysis of this test and set lock. So in test and set lock, a mutual exclusion is guaranteed because only one process can see the lock variable as 0 at a particular time, and that's why the mutual exclusion is guaranteed in test and set lock. Now let us see the progress. So for a system, a progress is defined as the some process should not stop other processes to get into the critical section. So in test and set lock, a process will execute the test and set lock instruction only when it wants to get into the critical section. So progress is also guaranteed in test and set lock. Now, but for bounded waiting, it is not guaranteed in test and set lock. It may happen that some process might not get a chance to enter into the critical section. Also, test and set lock is not architectural neutral because as earlier as we saw that it is a depends on a hardware platform. Now let us execute the test and set lock. So this is the visualization of test and set lock. Here we can see there are two buttons, that is P0 and P1, which is for this button is for process P0 and this is for process P1. Here we can see the value of register and lock. Initially the value of lock is 0 and the value of register is null. So suppose if I click on this process P0, then process P0 enters into the entry section. Now again if I process P0, then it enters into the critical section. So now some process is already into the critical section and the value of lock is 1. Now if I press process P1, then now the value of register becomes 1 from initially it was null and now it becomes 1. So when the this value of the register is 1 and lock is also 1, another process P1 cannot enter into the critical section because already some process because the critical section is already occupied by some process. So if I now press on P1 again, it says the P1 needs to wait for P0 to finish. So now again if I click on process P0, so it goes to the exit section and the value of lock and register will be 0. Now since process P0 is entering into the exit section and critical section is empty, so process P1 can enter into the critical section. So process P1 has entered into the critical section and the value of lock has become 1. Now if I press again process P1, then it will also come into the exit section. Now it may happen that two processes may enter into the critical section. So it tells us that the process have finished. Now it may happen that both the process are into the entry section. Suppose if I click on process P0, so it goes from queue to the entry section. And now if I press on process P1, then P1 also goes into the entry section. So a deadlock, the message will pop up that says deadlock because the value of lock and register both are 1. So neither process P0 or process P1 can enter into the critical section. So it will lead to a deadlock. So that's all for a test and set lock.
Hello, I am Vidhan Patel and I am going to explain strict alteration algorithm in concurrency. So here it is the overview of our algorithm. Strict alteration algorithm is also known as turn variable algorithm. So as the name suggests, turn variable means a variable will be there. That variable will show the turn of which process will go in the critical section to execute. And here we can see there will be two processes and one turn variable. And this turn variable will be used to know which process is going to execute in critical section and which will go in while loop at the time of waiting. So therefore, this process is known as turn variable and the original name is strict alteration. So this image is the overview for our algorithm which we have visualized. So here we can firstly see the turn variable box is there which will show the value of the process whose turn will be there. Then there is a process 0 button. This button on clicking will push this process P0 into critical section to execute, and process P1 will push the P1 in critical section for execute. this end P0 and end P1 button will pull back the process from critical section to non-critical section. And if some process is in critical section and we press P0 or P1, then that process will go in while loop for waiting time. And then there is this reset button which will reload the processes to their original position and also the turn variable to P0. Now these are the steps of execution which we will see at the time of executing the visualization of our algorithm. And at last there are some alert messages which will come if we press P0 when the turn is for P1, and if we press P1 when the turn is for P0, then this alert messages will come. And at last there is analysis of our approach, that this approach shows mutual exclusion, bounded waiting, and portability, but it does not shows progress. Because if P0's turn is there, turn variable is showing P0, but P0 does not have any work to execute in critical section, then there will be no progress as P1 has to wait. P1 have to wait for longer time because the P0 does not have work and it will not go in critical section and does not execute anything. So it will not show progress and it will show mutual exclusion, bounded waiting, and portability. Now we will execute our visualization of this algorithm. So here we can firstly see pseudocode for both the processes. So this is P0 pseudocode. So in this, it will go to while loop when turn variable value is not equal to 0. So if turn variable value is not equal to 0 means its value will be 1. So when its value will be 1, then P0 will go in while loop, not in critical section. And as P0 goes in critical section and completes its process, it will turn the value of turn variable to 1. Similarly for process P1. Now we will execute our process. As we can see, the turn variable is showing P0. So we will press P0 and it will go into the critical section. Now if P1 is ready and we want it to execute and we press P1, then it will go in while loop. As we can see in the pseudocode that if while not equal to 1, so here the turn is 0, so it goes in while loop. Now as P0 is completed its execution and we press P0 and P0, then it goes back to the non-critical section and changes the turn value to P1, as we can see here in this pseudocode. Now we press P1, then it goes into the critical section and P1, then it gets back into the non-critical section. So here also the turn variable value will be changed to 0 as P1 ends its execution. Now again the value is showing P0, and if we press P1, then there is a alert message, turn is for process P0. So here we have to press P0, and now we have to execute P1. So we can press P1 and then end P0, and also now P1 can go into the while loop as there is P1 can go into the critical section as there is no process in the critical section. Now if P0 is ready and goes into the critical section, then we will press P0. But as critical section is already occupied by P1, P0 will go into the while loop, and then we will press end P1 and it will change the turn value to P0 and P0 turn will be there, and now we can end P0. So as its turn is showing for P1 and we press P0, then again there will be alert message that turn is for process P1. So this is the visualization of our algorithm strict allocation. Thank you.
Now let us go towards Peterson algorithm. Before I get to show you how our algorithm works, let me give you a brief introduction about what Peterson algorithm is. Peterson algorithm is a good algorithmic explanation of what a critical section is and how it behaves in
originally inside a computer, and it showcases some of the complexities that are usually involved during designing of a software, and it also addresses some of the requirements that are needed for the mutual exclusion, progress, and bounded waiting. Let me tell you that Peterson algorithm is considered as a standard low-level algorithm for only two-thread mutual exclusion. The moment I click here on this button execute, there are a following set of the process that you will be seeing. Before I press this button, let me show you what exactly is going to happen. Here, as you can see in the first step, P0 execution, that is, the process P0 has entered the start state and therefore it now executes itself. Now, let's just consider that meanwhile the critical section is empty, P0 wants the critical section to operate some of the IO process. Hence, P0 then enters the critical section. Now, at the same time, as you can see that the critical section is already occupied by P0, the start state is empty, and hence it is time to trigger the process P1. In the next step, as you can see, process P1 is triggered. That is to say, now P1, as it is already crossed the start state, critical section is occupied by process P0. So P1 has to wait until process P0 exits the critical section and starts to again continue execute. Now, let's just consider that after a certain amount of time, P0 has exited the critical section, and hence now process P1 can enter the critical state. That is to say that P1, if requires the critical section, can now use it. During the process, let's just say that process P1 is in the critical section and it is using some of its resources. Process P0 has completed its execution and has entered the exit state. That is to say, process P0 has already completed. Now, after a certain amount of time, process P1 exits the critical section, it continues to execute itself, and at some point of time, it ends itself. That is to say that it enters the exit state and completes its processing. Finally, the analysis of the Peterson algorithm approach, that is to say that mutual exclusion, progress, bounded waiting, and portability are some of the key features that can be visualized in Peterson algorithm. Now, let me get you to see how it actually executes. Here, as you can see that initially process P0 has started, and at that time the interest of only the process P0 was true and not the interest of P1. And at the moment when P0 had entered the critical section, it was now time for the P1 to start, and hence at the very same time the interest of P1 became true. At the same point of time, the P0 has since P0 has already completed its critical section occupation, it then exits the critical section, and hence the P1 then enters the critical section. So that's why the P1 turn was kept here at last. Let me show you once again how it actually works. You see P0 has been given the turn for now, and P1 then has given the turn. Again P0 was given the turn because critical section was occupied by P0 at the beginning, and it is the first priority of the P0 to get completed since it is already in the critical section, and hence at the later stage P1 was showed up here. Thank you. Now let us go towards producer-consumer problem. Before I get to show you how our algorithm works, let me give you a brief introduction about the producer-consumer problem. As you can see, the producer-consumer problem is a classical multi-process synchronization problem. That is to say, here we try to understand how a synchronization between one or more than one process actually works inside a computer. You see, there is one thread called producer, and then there is another one called consumer. A same amount of memory buffer is shared between both the threads, which is again of a fixed size. The task of a producer is to produce the item and then put it into the memory buffer and again start producing the very next item. Whereas the task of a consumer is to consume the item from the memory buffer and then again continue towards consuming the very next item. Let me show you a brief steps that needs to be followed in order to see the visualization of our algorithm. Firstly, input a number of processes that you want to visualize. Let's say that I want 10 processes that needs to be executed parallelly. That is to say that at a certain amount of time out of those 10 processes, any random process should be produced, and at any certain random point of time, it should be consumed. So here enter the number of processes that you want to visualize. Then input the total time. Here, the number that you will be entering is actually going to be the number of iterations through which the entire loop will run. That is to say that let's just say that, as I mentioned previously, that there will be random of 10 processes that will be produced at a certain point of time and consumed at a certain point of time. So this producing and consuming will happen for 400 iterations. Here, note that it might happen that after a certain point of time, the process that is already consumed might be produced again. You see, many times in a computer, it might happen that a process is invoked again and that it needs to be executed with some kind of priority first. So, in order to visualize that scenario as well, we have shown a visualization that is completely random. Here, you can see that the visualization occurs the moment you press the button on Visualize. Note: if a box is colored as black, it means that the process is just produced, and if the box is colored to white, it means that the process is consumed. Now, as I previously mentioned, it might happen that the box that has already been colored white might happen to colored as black again. That is to say that even if the process is consumed, it might happen that after a certain point of time, it might be produced again. Here as a functionality, we have even given an option to save as a PDF. That is to say, all the number of iterations that you have been entered will now be saved as a PDF, and you can then have a visualization about how randomly our algorithm works, just like in the actual scene. Finally, the analysis of our approach. As I previously mentioned, that this producer-consumer problem is actually there in the first place to make sure that we won't try to add data into the buffer exceeding the limit, and we won't try to consume the data that is in the buffer outside the size 0. That is to say that if the entire buffer is empty, you might not be able to consume any process. Now, to get a clear solution of it, we can say that the next time the consumer removes an item from the buffer, it notifies the producer, who starts to fill the buffer again. Well, let's just say that what if the entire buffer is full? Here, then consumer removes any item in the buffer, and meanwhile producer will wait until the buffer is empty. The moment there is even one location empty in the buffer, producer will try to produce the next item. The next time producer puts the data into the buffer, it wakes the sleeping consumer if only there are no process remaining in the buffer. And the moment consumer will find any single process in the buffer state, it will try to execute it. Now, let us go towards the execution of our algorithm. Here, let me enter a number of, let's just say 10, and here I'll be entering the number of maybe 40. And the moment I click visualize, you can see randomly the boxes are colored black or white. The black boxes means that they are produced, and white boxes mean that they are consumed. Now you can see that since there were only 10 processes, process number P3 and P9 were not produced at all, even for one time. So what will happen if I increase the number of the iterations? Let's try to visualize it. You see, every single process is now been at least be taken as has been produced for a single time, and it has been consumed. You see, it might happen that the producing is being more given a preference than consuming. That is to say that producing thread always remains a step ahead of the consumer. Even though they run parallelly, if there is no item to produce, then there will be no item to be consumed. You see, most of the processes are consumed, and only 3 processes, that is P1, P6 and P9, are remaining. That means that out of every single execution that has been made inside this 400 iterations inside this loop of 400 iterations, there were only 3 processes that are now been remaining to consume. With that, thank you.
Now let us see the Banker's algorithm. The Banker's algorithm is a kind of a resource allocation and deadlock avoidance algorithm. Now, why it is named as a Banker's algorithm? Because it is widely used in banking systems to check whether a loan can be sanctioned to a person or not. So we can visualize the scenario as suppose there are n number of account holders in a bank and the total sum of their money present in the bank is S. Now suppose if a customer applies for a loan in the bank, then what a bank does, it first subtract the loan amount from the total amount that the bank already has, and now if the remaining amount is greater than the sum of the money that is there with the bank, then only the loan is sanctioned. It is done because of if at a time all the account holders come to withdraw their money from the bank, then the bank can easily do it. So we have prepared this kind of a visualization for bankers algorithm. Now let us see some of the characteristics of the bankers algorithm. So whenever a process gets all its desired resources, it needs to return them in a restricted given time frame. Suppose if a process does not have suppose a process requests some amount of resource, it needs to wait for the other process to complete the process. One of the advanced feature of Banker's algorithm is maximum resource allocation. And there are two biggest drawbacks of the Banker's algorithm. That is that all the processes must know and state their maximum resource that it will need in advance. And the second biggest drawback of Banker's algorithm is that it does not allow the process to change its maximum need while processing. So now let us execute and see our Banker's algorithm. So this is our Banker's algorithm. So here allocation indicates the total number of available resources of each type. Like there are 0 resources of type A, 1 resources of type B, and 0 resources of type C. Now maximum defines the maximum demand each process has given in a system. Like process P0 has 7 of resource type A, 5 of resource type B, and 3 of resource type C. And available shows the total number of resources that are currently allocated to each process. Like suppose here process is P0 though, total 3 resources of type A are allocated to process P0, 3 resources of type B are allocated to process P0, and 2 resources of type C are allocated to process P0. Now here we can see two buttons, that is subtract and add. We can add or subtract the number of processes in the system. So let me add some of the process into system. So I have added another 3 processes in the system, and now let me give a different allocation for all the processes. So now I press the submit. So this tells us the order of execution of the processes. That is first process P1 will execute, then next process P2 will execute, then process P3 will execute, and at the last process P0 will execute. That is all for the Banker's algorithm.
Hi guys, in this session we would be getting interacted with algorithms related to semaphore. In this section of our web page, we have included several description and detail about our algorithm, how it works, and first of all, what are the things we should know and how it was invented and all these things. And another thing is that it shows the steps related to our implementation, how each step is derived and how it is implemented. For example, in this section is all about the button overview. Then these are several features we have implemented in our algorithm, and several pop-ups. And here is the best features, that is save PDF. It will show how each steps is executed at which time on your which command. Here is the analysis of binary semaphore approach, which you can have a look into it by pausing this video. Also, let's execute this algorithm. Okay, this is the main page of our algorithm. Here several tooltips we have implemented, which is one of the best features. For example, if we want to know about semaphore, then here is the definition, and same for the suspended queue, critical section, and completed queue. Also, there is a link associated with this algorithm on the very name of it, which will lead to your authentic, which will lead to you and to an authentic resource, and you can have extensive study about it. Another thing, we can also add processes, as many as we want. Now let's execute one by one. Initially, as we can see here, the semaphore value was 1, but now it has changed to 0. It signifies that critical section is occupied by one of the processes. Okay, now this section is occupied. Now let's push another process to get into this critical section. As we push, it shows that we have appended some process into this suspended queue. Why? Because our critical section was already occupied by some processes. But when we complete these processes, we will get a pop-up that okay, P0 is completed, and automatically from critical suspended queue, process will be according to the rule of FIFO will be pushed to critical section. Now another processes we can also open, like P4, P5, then P3. Now as we push this P3, it will show a warning that critical section is being used by the processes, and finally we can complete every process in such a manner. This is semaphore, which will signifies what is the current status of your critical section. Another is suspended queue. If critical section is already occupied by some processes, then every other processes will be appended in suspended queue and will be taken out according to the rule of FIFO, first in first out. Then this shows critical section, where in critical section the name of the processes will be shown. And this is completed queue, in which P0 and P1 processes are completed and have been exited. Now from this button we can save PDF and can have a look around it. For example, in this PDF, several processes are shown in on which command of yours in our algorithm have triggered which processes, which steps of our algorithm, and you can have a look into it, detailed look into it. Thank you. Hi guys, in this session we would be having interacted with algorithms related to semaphore. Let's go for counting semaphore. Here we have given detailed description about what is counting semaphore and related information. Also, we have listed some of the features we have implemented in our algorithm, and here is the overview of it. And one of the best feature is to download PDF and have a look around on which functionalities you use at which time by triggering which command. Also, we have given analysis approach of counting semaphore, how things have worked, and what should we have done and what should not, and you can have a look around it by pausing this video. Now let's execute this algorithm. First of all, when you start this algorithm, it will demand you the initial value of semaphore. Now let's say you didn't send any value and click submit button, then this will give you a warning that semaphore 0 won't work. You have to give greater than 0, as it signifies the is a critical section occupied by how many processes. So let's say we have given 3 as a initial value of semaphore. Okay, now we can add several processes if we want, as per our wish. And we have features of this tooltip in our implementation, where each keyword will be explained in an extensive manner. For example, data description of semaphore, suspended queue, critical section, and completed queue is given in the tooltip. Also, we have linked here an authentic source if you want to read about extra read, so you can have a look around it. Now let's run this implementation. Now P0, when we click P0, here the value of semaphore changed from 3 to 2 and it entered into this critical section, but still it shows that we have capacity of still 2 processes left. So when we click this, for example P5, then P5 is entered into the critical section, and if you at this point wish to add a process, you still can. And for example, let's say you clicked P6, now the semaphore value is 0. Now if you add any process, it will get into the suspended queue, as you can see. So it get into the suspended queue, and if you still push this, then it will give a warning, critical section is being used by the processes. Okay, so let's say if I click P0, then P0 is completed, and similarly other processes can also be completed. And also, as per your wish, you can append this in several suspended queue. As you can see, P2 is appended, then P3, and then P4 as per the FIFO. Now whenever I click this P6, automatically P2 will enter into the critical section, as it these processes will already be ready in the suspended queue. Then it will join the ready queue, and then it will get into this critical section. And similarly, you can go for the rest of the processes. Now let's have this save PDF option, as I have saved PDF. Here in PDF, several steps are shown, which you have, which I have done in this session, and same goes for with you if you are doing this implementation, and you can have a view about it in this section. Okay, thank you.